Okay, Johnny, how are you today?
Good, Stu. Good to be back on the channel. How are you?
Yeah, you're back. Where have you been?
Yeah, so I was away for a couple of weeks on holiday, and then took a bit more time off. And then, of course, last week we planned to do it a bit earlier in the week, but couldn't as I was away again last weekend. Yeah,
Well, I forgot.
yeah, no problem, Stu. No problem. It's all good.
Yeah, I
We're
saw a
back at
few
it now.
comments from people saying whether you'd got the flick, Johnny, whether I'd replaced you with somebody else or something, but that is not the case. You're back in action today with your weekly updates of what's going on in Spain from a more of an economic point of view, right?
Yeah, that's what we try and cover. We try and cover kind of the economic, financial,
That's it.
news kind of side, and obviously give the odd interesting news story here and there as well.
If we can find one, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, great. So you had some holidays. You travelled around the country.
Yeah, so I went to Catalonia, and I was in Tarragona, Castelldefels, Barcelona, and Girona for my holiday. I have some
Okay,
friends out there. Yeah.
spending your money in Catalonia.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's where my journey in Spain actually started.
I did it.
Yeah, so I worked in a hostel there for a few months, about 4 years ago. Even though I live in Madrid now, Barcelona and Catalonia always has a bit of a special place because it's where the fun
A
all began.
special place in your heart, Johnny.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Now, on the topic of Barcelona, the airport extension, the Prat Airport.
Hmm.
Not a good word in English, Prat, of course.
Yeah.
But that's what the airport in Barcelona is called, El Prat.
Hmm.
Barajas, well, I think in Madrid now it's called Adolfo Suarez, I think is the name.
Hmm.
Barajas Airport. And of course, the other big airport in Spain, in Barcelona, Prat. And the government was going to, well, they planned to extend it, didn't they?
Yeah, so Aena, the airport operator group in Spain, wanted to invest in El Prat 1.7 billion euros
Yep.
essentially to build a third runway to bring in more air traffic because El Prat right now is starting to become saturated with all the air traffic, and it was expected to bring a lot of big economic benefits for Catalonia, including I think it was 25 billion euros increase in GDP and the creation of
Well,
about 185,000 jobs
yeah.
directly related to the expansion.
I can't remember the exact figures, but I'll take your word on that. That
Yeah.
there was going to be a huge economic investment there, jobs created. The government here in Madrid, the central government, was very upbeat about the project. You know, they announced it with the typical fanfare, and that's what they were promising, right? A huge investment in Catalonia, something that has been lacking, or at least that's been one of the big complaints from Catalonian governments over the years, that there has been a lack of investment. So the Sanchez government decides to to announce it, huge investment, and then run into some problems.
Yeah, the main problem being opposition from other political parties. So the main ones that supported it were the PSOE, the central government, and Junts per Cat,
Mm.
the other another Catalan party, and then Esquerra and Podemos were against it. And the main groups that are against it is mainly for ecological reasons because the Delta de Llobregat region, I think it's a protected part of Spain, right?
Some wetlands close to the airport, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually I
Yeah,
went to a beach right next to the airport, and it is a very nice
really.
area. Yeah, it is a very nice area around there. So,
Yeah,
yeah. But people from an environmental point of view concerned about the impact of what an airport expansion could have on that area. Yeah,
yeah. What's the name where the town where the airport is? Because it's outside of Barcelona, right? What's the
yeah.
name of the town?
The town is called El Prat de
El
Llobregat.
Prat. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
El Prat de Llobregat.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. All right, good. Yeah, and yeah, so there's an environmental question. They want to protect the well. That's what they're saying, right? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, the central government probably. I don't know whether they had this in their plans or not, or whether they thought about this, but that's the opposition. You know, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's not the first place in the world that's had opposition to an extra runway, right?
Yeah, I mean Heathrow has had opposition when Heathrow has expanded.
That's
Um,
it.
so yeah, But yeah, the project for the meantime has actually been parked because of this unable to come to a consensus.
So maybe they'll spend the money on something else. I don't know, but it just goes to show how difficult it is to. I mean, there's so many political parties involved. You mentioned the central government and Junts
Hmm.
Port Cat, I think, is one party,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then, then you've got Esquerra Republicana.
Hmm.
Then you've got the Podemos part of the government in Barcelona as well, which I think is called Encomo or something like that, right?
Mm.
So there's a huge amount of different political parties involved, and that's what's holding it up, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. For the meantime, at least I think Guyana have said they will either try again in 5 years or they will spread the investment around other airports in Spain. That's their plan for now.
Yeah. Well, Spain does have a lot of airports.
Yeah, of the airports it has, the big three, obviously Barajas in Madrid, El Prat, and Palma de Mallorca is the third biggest. And
Yeah, I
then,
think
yeah.
Malaga's getting pretty big as well. I think.
Yeah, and then I know they break the airports down, I think, by tiers in terms of size, so 2 and 3, and Malaga, yeah, is one of those bigger
Yeah.
airports amongst the remainder.
And then there's some other airports that have hardly any traffic at all.
Yeah.
There's an airport in Murcia, I think, Corvera Airport, which was basically shut because I think the only planes that come in are local planes and from the UK internationally, so not many
Mhm.
flights coming in from there. I was speaking to a civil guard who worked at the airport. And he told me that some days they have like one flight in the morning. this was during the pandemic, a couple of months
Yeah.
ago. He said there was like one flight a day coming in, and people had to show up at the airport, open the newsstand and everything for one flight, then they go home.
Yeah. Well, I flew back to Madrid from Vigo Airport last year, and that's another
Yeah,
very small airport.
similar, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, my friend and I, we had to drop the car off quite early. And when we got to the airport, we were the only ones in the airport.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Yeah, and as you said, you've got those huge airports, the Barajas, the Prat, and the one in Mallorca. Don't know if
Yeah,
that has a
Palma de
name or
Mallorca.
not.
Yeah.
Palma de Mallorca Airport. That's it. All
Mhm.
right, good, Johnny. What's next?
So electricity prices. This has been a recurring topic ever since
Oh,
the new
it's been ongoing.
yeah, ever since these new tariffs came in. Yeah, it's been on the radar. I've seen many disgruntled comments on Facebook about the constant price increases.
Yeah.
But yeah, the electricity price per megawatt hour.
The wholesale price.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps going up. Yeah, I
Well, it's
think.
going to hit. It's going to hit close to 200 today, Thursday.
Yeah, yeah. It was at 172 the other day, so now,
Hmm.
yeah, it just keeps going up.
That's it.
And so, yeah, the government trying to take measures to cut this,
Yeah.
to cut the cost to the consumer.
Well, it's under enormous pressure because, as we know, a lot of salaries here in Spain aren't very high. And if you're on the minimum salary, for example, and you are seeing increases in your electricity bill every month, you start to get a little bit angry, right? And we have become a very energy dependent society. I mean, everybody's got an air conditioning machine now. Everybody's got a lot of electronic devices. Okay, they might not use the most amount of electricity, but everybody's got fancy televisions and fridges and all of these things which are plugged in all the time.
Yeah, and depending on what part of Spain you're in and what time of year it is as well, your electricity consumption can really shoot up in the summer in Madrid and like Cordoba,
Well,
other
well,
places.
well.
Yeah,
Madrid is a difficult city from that point of view because you've got cold winters.
exactly.
A lot of them, not only Madrid, a lot of Spain. You've got the cold winter, so you've got to have the gas on all the time. And then for the 3 months of summer, you've got the air conditioning sometimes working non-stop, as you have just found out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a tough situation.
Yeah.
So in terms of what the government have tried to do, so they already reduced the VAT rate down to from 21% to 10.
Yeah.
That's been extended until the end of the year. And then you've got two other taxes, the special electricity tax and the general electricity tax. So one, the special tax has been reduced from 5% down to 0.5. The general tax has been suspended. I believe until the end of the year as well. When Sanchez talked about it, he was saying how the idea is that the consumer is the one that saves here. So the electricity companies should reduce their prices in line with the action that the government's taken.
Yeah. The idea is that, for the electricity companies to take a hit, basically, and they're not happy about it. I think they said the other day that they're threatening to shut down nuclear plants around the country. They also are planning to take the government to court if it becomes law, because I think it was just approved by the parliament the other day. I don't know whether it's actually become law yet until it gets published in the official state gazette. So they're talking about taking the government to court, and the stock price of the major electricity or energy companies here in Spain fell around 5%. So they've taken a hit, yeah. Well, the plan has got its skeptics as well, because what they're saying is the government's postponing payments today that will be added in the future, right? Which has been a trick that different governments here in Spain have done in the past. They bring in a law where you don't have to pay now, but you'll pay next year. Do you know what I mean? So what you don't pay today, we'll be paying next year, and that's what a lot of people are not happy about either. And the other thing is that with the electric companies, they're making huge profits. I mean, I think Iberdrola, one of the big companies here, posted a €1 billion profit for the first quarter, So the government is trying to cut into that profit margin as well.
Yeah. The government's taken a loss as well by taking all these tax subsidies. I think it was about 1.7 billion in revenue they're set to lose.
Yeah, so that's right. The government's losing tax revenue as well, but of course, obviously they don't want the political fallout that they're going to get at the next elections if these high energy prices continue, right? Because people, as we know, have a short-term memory, and they want to fix the problem now, and we'll take a cut to those revenues in order to keep the population happy.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. We talked about it in a previous episode, that it's all due to the way that electricity is priced based on carbon emission rights.
Yeah.
And the price of carbon emission rights is going up, which is essentially what's pushing the electricity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Natural gas prices as well, or something like that. So it's fairly complex, but the government's under a lot of pressure, Okay, Johnny, what's next?
Yeah, and then the third item we got is related to Carrefour and the environmental kind of steps they've taken to reduce their plastic in their product. So in their packaging over the past 3 years, they've managed a 50% reduction in plastic across their fruit and veg products, and they've managed to save about 1,000 tons in plastic from their initiatives. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, well, there was a big push last year, or maybe the year before. A lot of supermarkets got off the plastic bandwagon. Of course, there was huge pressure from environmental groups that supermarkets were, littering the world with plastic, which was probably true. The plastic bags were the first to go, or you had to start to pay for them. They were free for a long time, and then you had to pay 5 cents, then 10 cents, and whatever you pay for them now. Then they encouraged you to, get some type of reusable bag to take to the supermarket every day. Lidl supermarkets, and I think even Mercadona now have gone to a paper bag situation rather than plastic. Don't know if you've noticed that.
No, I got a delivery from Mercadona just before, and it all came.
Was it in plastic bags? Plastic bags?
Yeah, Mercadona still has plastic bags, but I mean they've all got their like bag for life, their version of the bag for life, essentially.
Yeah. I thought at my local Mercadona they were giving out paper bags if you asked for one, but and it doesn't matter.
I think it's Lidl that does that actually. Lidl has the paper bags.
I know they do. I think Aldi does as well, but I thought my local Mercadona, I could be wrong. But Mercadona is also a supermarket where everything is in plastic containers as well, so...
Yeah. There is a lot of plastic in Mercadona. But I did notice, I went to the pizza stand one week and noticed there was a big banner hanging overhead saying the plastic is made from reused plastic. or it's recyclable plastic essentially.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely noticed in the past couple of months there's a big change in kind of packaging, not just in supermarkets but everywhere in general. Like you go to, I don't know, McDonald's or somewhere, you get a I don't even know how I'd call it, like a cardboard kind of straw thing on the trays.
You can't get plastic straws anymore. No, they've gone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of those things that sort of crept into our consumption habits. Plastics, I was thinking the other day that when I was a boy back in Australia, you didn't have a lot of plastic bottles when you went to buy a drink at the local deli, as we call them down there. You'd go to the corner deli, you'd have a can of Coke, you'd buy choc milk in a carton. But over the next few decades, everything went to plastic. Coca-Cola started using plastic bottles. The chopped milk companies, as we call them, they started using plastic bottles. You can still buy it in cartons. Milk's now in plastic bottles more frequently as well. So, I mean, there's been a huge push towards plastic over the last few decades, and now we have a problem with it. So we're going in the opposite direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally, where possible, I try and reduce my plastic consumption. So whether it's buying cans or whether it's buying cartons. But yeah, trying to reduce the plastic consumption. Not just from kind of the supermarket point of view, but from a consumer perspective as well. If you manage it, it's good.
That's it. And a lot of people are, they are becoming more conscious about it. For example, when you get your fruit, a lot of people are taking their own bags to put fruit in nowadays, so you don't have to get one of those plastic bags there. But it's a big problem, and the litter as well. The plastic containers really fill up fast, and the recycling containers.
Yeah. You mentioned taking your own bags. That's one of Carrefour's initiatives, is kind of the ability to take your own Tupperware to get fresh products in the store.
Yeah. Okay.
And they've got an app as well. I had a quick look before this called Recicla Ya. And you can essentially scan your barcode from your receipt, and it will tell you how you can recycle the packaging from the different items you've got, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's the push to to get the plastics out, or at least not as many plastics as we have, and you can see that supermarkets are moving in that direction. But if we go back to that supermarket that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, I don't know whether you've noticed this, Johnny, but every year there's more and more like pre-prepared meals in those places, right? There's lots of pasta packets. Pizzas, as you said before, okay, recycled plastic, but it's still in plastic. What else? Sandwiches. There's a lot of pre-prepared dishes now, and every year that section gets bigger and bigger, and it's all in plastic containers.
Yeah, it was definitely very common back when I lived in the UK. Ready meals and quick microwave meals were readily available. But I remember moving to France, and there wasn't that many available when I was first there. But yeah, as I've moved here, I've started to see those ready meal sections expand a bit. And Mercadona, they've now even got their what's it called? Like their little it's called Listo para Comer, and it's like they'll serve you up like a hot paella or the odd warm dish ready and to eat.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's also another story for another day. But people are preferring to not cook at home and pick up their meals from one of these places. Well, they call it like hot meal section, don't they? You've got paellas there, you've got fish dishes, chickens, and all of those things. So, and the other day there was a huge amount of people there buying that food, so it is becoming very popular, especially in Madrid.
Yeah, and it's fairly reasonably priced as well. If you compare it to the cost of making your meal at home and going to a restaurant, it falls at a reasonable midpoint, I find.
Well, that's right. And when you have to turn your oven on nowadays, and you're using that expensive electricity, it's cheaper to buy your meals already cooked. I had somebody in the comment section once say it's cheaper for him to sit in his car with the air conditioning on than it is to have it running at home. So people are looking for different ways to avoid the high costs. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, anything else?
That was all for today, Stu.
All right, great. We'll wrap it up there. Good speaking to you again, and we'll be in
Likewise.
contact for next week.
Great. Speak to you next
All
week.
right, see you later. Good day.
Bye bye, Steve.
Bye-bye.